Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, a Pittsburgh Steelers podcast made by fans like you, for fans like you. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special draft edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. My name's Joe Kuzma, and before we get started, I just want to remind everyone, no matter where you're listening, you could probably listen everywhere. You could pick up our podcast over all the time. We have an archive running at steelcityunderground.com, but you may or may not have known that we're also on iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, and also the newly launched Google Play Music podcast service. So this broadcast and all of our episodes and shows are available on a wide variety of your favorite apps and websites. So the big question, the reason I'm doing this special edition of the podcast today is just one name and one name only that is just a buzz across all of the social media. I can't even keep up with the typing and the chatter, the tweets, the comments, the likes, and everything else that's going out there in the Facebook and Twitter spheres. So we are going to talk about UCLA linebacker Myles Jack. That's right. Would the Pittsburgh Steelers be interested in Myles Jack? And that was kind of some of you were in the draft event over on Facebook, which you could still join today if you want to go over there and check it out over on our facebook.com/SteelCityUnderground. We're running a draft event where there's a bunch of comments, and it's not just for Steelers fans. So if you're already in there, you can invite some of your friends, and the banner going back and forth. One of the things was this Game of Thrones meme I put out there, and you've seen it. Brace yourself. A linebacker is coming. And it seems kind of silly, but where would the Steelers go with round two with this pick? And I talked about this last night really briefly. You know, I was kind of zombified from waiting through 3.5, 4 hours almost of a draft and watching the pens. And I had so much going on. It's just wild. And part of this, like, wild craze is Myles Jack is just this. He's a beast. He's a machine of a player, and a Pac-12 offensive and defensive rookie of the year in 2013, and a finalist for the Paul Holmgren Award as the nation's most versatile player, and all Pac-12 second-team defender as a freshman, and he was on the second-team All-Conference again in 2014, and he just has like all these statistics: 75 tackles, 2 picks, 11 passes defense, 88 tackles, 8 for a loss, 1 pick. I don't think I need to go through all the statistics. We know this guy. We're shocked that maybe he falls out of the top 10. And now will we see a reversal of the social media, let's say, destruction of what happened to Laramie Tunsil last night? And I joked, I said, if Laramie Tunsil was hacked on his Twitter and his Instagram and all of his social media, the guy must have, like, his password must be like Laramie1, Baloney1, maybe his birth date or his jersey number, or it just doesn't seem very bright, right? But what came out with that video, and if you didn't see it, Laramie Tunsil was very highly regarded player. Actually, most mock drafts before the Rams and Eagles started moving into the top positions of the draft, trading with Cleveland and escaping me, Tennessee, who have a lot of picks today. We'll get in that in a second. Before they moved into that, a lot of people thought that Tunsil might be the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. And then just hours before they're making these selections yesterday, there's this video that surfaces with him apparently smoking marijuana out of a bong with a gas mask. It's one of the most craziest things you'll ever see. And he didn't necessarily deny that it was him. He's just kind of like, well, I got hacked and I wasn't the one who sent that out there. Well, if you're the one who sent that out there, you'd be kind of foolish. And then there's this whole deal with him answering questions afterwards and answering that somebody asked if he took money from a coach, and he starts to answer it and he gets rushed off the stage. So you just see this incredible downfall, this real life drama of this player falling into the middle of the first round after being almost like a surefire top 5 pick. And now I'm wondering if we don't see the exact opposite with Myles Jack, who just tweeted just like under an hour ago, and this is what really got the fire under my butt to do this quick podcast and get it out to you guys. Myles Jack is dunking a basketball and saying, hey, my knee is fine. Now, even if his knee isn't fine, I'm wondering what are the medical conditions that has spooked well, I can't even say 32 NFL teams. The Patriots didn't have a chance to pick yet. The Kansas City Chiefs, they traded out of the first round. So, but in general, all of these teams in the league, all the franchises have passed on this on somebody who was just as much a surefire top 5 pick. Now, will Twitter do the reverse and have Myles Jack come right off the board first thing to like the Cleveland Browns or the Tennessee Titans today? And if he doesn't, and the teams know something that we don't know, will the Pittsburgh Steelers, would they be the type of team that would take that might take advantage of this great talent falling to them in the second round? I almost thought they might do it in the first round yesterday, as using my Game of Thrones meme for a reference. And I kind of wanted to discuss maybe, Kevin Colbert's been at this for a very long time. And I've been saying this. He's been around since 2000. There's only 4 general managers that have that type of tenure. Ozzie Newsome over with the Ravens, who leapfrogged over Tunsil almost immediately yesterday with the 6th pick. And then you have Jerry Jones and Bill Belichick. And doesn't Myles Jack seem like the perfect fit for either one of those guys, even if they don't really need them? Bill Belichick's not against like taking chances and finding great value. And then you have like Jerry Jones, who is not in the same category whatsoever. I probably would never say that. But he has this great multi-billion dollar franchise that is the Dallas Cowboys, is all things Texas, and his giant palatial stadium that's down there with the huge scoreboard and whatnot. And Jerry just is one of those guys that like would take a guy like this, like he did Randy Gregory in last year's draft, just to say that he, to validate that he's a general manager, even though he's an owner, and to just kind of say, hey, I'm smarter than all you guys. So it kind of reeks of Dallas is positioned pretty high in the second round too, to think. So if he would happen to fall, Myles Jack that is, and make it into the Steelers area of the draft. And I believe we are drafting at picks. Let me go find this real quick, folks. I'm looking at Still Viable, the 2016 NFL draft preview that you could get for free over on steelcityunderground.com. There's still a bunch of guys in here that you're going to want the information for tonight and for Saturday for the pick for rounds 2 through 7. There's still a lot of guys that the Steelers usually have visited with that they will draft, as shown in the past, in the same guide. So you can get it for free over on steelcityunderground.com. And yes, I am plugging a free book that I put a lot of time into and just trying to kill some air here while I find, and I have found, the Steelers are selecting at picks 58 and 89 for rounds 2 and 3, which are tonight. Being Friday, in case you end up catching this late, but we'll probably know where Myles Jack is by that time anyway. So by pick 58, could the Steelers be in the ballpark for a player like Myles Jack? And I say, yes, they can. So I've made an argument a little bit ago that the Steelers might be looking at, they haven't been shy with drafting linebackers the last 3 drafts, correct? So they've taken Jarvis Jones, Ryan Shazier, Bud Dupree. They've even picked up guys like, Sean Spence was a little bit before that, no longer with the team. So there's an inside linebacker immediate need, right? Bud Dupree. Did I mention Bud Dupree? No. Vince Williams. So a few of these guys, converted defensive end like Anthony Chiquillo. Yeah, if you're listening, I heard you. I saw you on Facebook. I know we're kind of arguing. He was a converted defensive end. Okay, I get it. So, but I think the more immediate thing to look at is some of the contracts that are maybe coming up, or even just taking for granted that James Harrison's going to play this year, play a full year, be healthy. And he's an outside linebacker, of course, but Myles Jack is he's an athletic guy. You could probably put him just about anywhere on the field. You got Lawrence Timmons in a contract year, getting paid a lot of money, been around since 2007, entering his 10th NFL season. Might be time to start looking at his eventual successor. So if you have a guy like Myles Jack and your medical people have said, well, maybe this, but not that, if the knee's not that bad, what is the average lifespan of an NFL player, you have to ask. So if you could get, let's say, and this usually goes by rounds and people fall, but you're looking at, if you get like 3, 4, or 5 years, 4 to 5 years would be a real sweet spot to have a player like Myles Jack, if he could be healthy for that long. And he has the ability to play behind and kind of be groomed by Lawrence Timmons and Ryan Shazier. And make no mistake about it, Ryan Shazier has not been a healthy guy either. Myles Jack could fit right into that, where if Shazier gets hurt, he could just you pick up the slack. You lose nothing in production. It could be an amazing pick. I'm not saying it's exactly where I want the Steelers to go. There are a handful of players tonight that I'd be more than pleased with. I'm going to cover that in a second. But you have to look at Lawrence Timmons, James Harrison. Harrison is going to be 38. Timmons is going to be a 10-year vet. I don't think they'll be around forever. Arthur Moats is signed through 2017, so he'll still be here next year. And then Steven Johnson was only signed for a 1-year deal to help replace Sean Spence, practically flipping as Spence goes to Tennessee and Johnson comes from Tennessee to Pittsburgh. So you have Anthony Chiquillo on the outside, Jordan Zumwalt, who's been on the injured reserve. So Myles Jack could fill an actual need here if you look within the immediate 1 to 2 years of the Steelers might go from being linebacker rich to linebacker poor. Might not be a bad move. But let's just say Myles Jack is gone. And who are we exactly looking at tonight? There are a number of players that the Steelers might have in consideration for tonight. There's a whole list of guys. I just put this out on Facebook in a few of the groups that I'm around, and Myles Jack being one of them. Noah Spence. You have Javon Hargrave, Andrew Billings, A'Shawn Robinson, Javon Reed, a bunch of defensive tackles. We had about. You also have. Let me see here. Von Bell is one of the safeties. You have Darian Thompson. You also have the kid from Duke, Kevin Dodd's still out there. That could be a defensive end or outside linebacker, depending on the scheme. But anyways, you saw about just 16 defensive players, and the Steelers have about 26, 27 picks without doing the hardcore math again here. So about 16, you have about another 10 players where in those positions and the teams drafting in between might not be looking defense. They might go wide receivers. We didn't see any tight ends taken yesterday. Just 2 wide receivers, I think, with the Redskins and also with the Cleveland Browns taking Coleman. That's right. So you might see teams lean a little more on offense. You still have Connor Cook out there. If the quarterback carrot is dangling in front of that team, they might go after Connor Cook. So one of these players could very well fall to the Steelers. And, I'm talking with the guys over at Steelers Extreme Forums, and a lot of the guys there, like A'Shawn Robinson, a lot of us within the panel, like Andrew Billings. I would love if one of those guys falls just like a Stephon Tuitt, a guy graded as being maybe a round 1 prospect, but taken in round 2. Kevin Colbert has an amazing track record with round 2. So if it's not a Myles Jack would just be, and as I was speaking heading into this draft, I am rooting for these teams to take players in positions that the Steelers aren't looking at and guys that we are definitely wanting to acquire and select to be part of this Steelers franchise. So when that happens, that just means somebody falls further down. Now let me bring one more kind of wrinkle into this discussion and topic before I end today's podcast. And that is just the fact that the Tennessee Titans and the Cleveland Browns have a lot of draft picks in this draft by virtue of trading down, trading back, and trading around. And Cleveland traded back twice. So even if the Titans or Browns are interested in a safety, when they have multiple picks ahead of Pittsburgh, maybe 2 or 3 picks, I think between them, they both draft a combined 4 or 5 times before Pittsburgh's on the board in some of these rounds. So when you look at that, that's pretty cool, because I don't think that the Browns or the Titans are going to be picking multiple defensive tackles, multiple safeties, where if you had, let's say, it's not Tennessee and it's Cincinnati and Baltimore picking instead of Tennessee picking 3 times, for example, there's a good chance that all of those teams just pick safety, for example. So this is going to be very neat to check out tonight. You guys are asking what might be my picks. I'm actually hoping. I like the kid out of Duke. I remember his name now, Jeremy Cash, but I'm hoping he's maybe like in the round 3 type discussion. Justin Simmons from Boston College also might be going later. If the Steelers get a shot in round 2, I don't think Von Bell will be there, but I would love to have another Buckeye on the roster. My guys still, Andrew Billings and A'Shawn Robinson. Would love to have that big guy up front anchoring the 3-4 defense. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pumped up. Get ready for round 2 and 3, day 2 of the NFL draft, and I will have more coverage for you later on.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.